To say the least, we live in extremely interesting times. We live in a world where the dictator of one of the smallest countries tucked away in the corner of Asia is threatening to launch a nuclear attack on the global superpower of the world. They've claimed they've been doing testing and they've been developing significantly stronger weapons than what the US has. They've claimed that their military arsenal is far more supreme than what the West claims it to be. But should any of us really be worried? Will North Korea start a nuclear war? In my previous speeches, my answer has been very sad or very unfortunate. But fortunately in this speech, my answer is an unequivocal no. No chance that North Korea will do this for three main reasons. Number one, the sheer military weakness of North Korea. Number two, the global threat of other countries and other superpowers in the world. And number three, why one of their strongest allies, or to be frank, their only ally, China, won't help them if they were to start one. So first, let's look at their sheer military weakness. So North Korea is very speculative. Kim Jong-un claims that we can bomb the entire United States. All 50 states is within our military range. Note that this quote is coming from a leader who said they won the World Cup that they didn't even compete in, and that he's so supreme that he doesn't even have bowel movements. This is obviously a lie. Al Jazeera reports that at the very best, all they can do is hit the states except for Latin America and Antarctica. So even this shows that North Korea is a lie and that their forces aren't as strong as they claim it to be. Furthermore, the countries that they are claiming to attack, Japan, South Korea, the United States, are all equipped with anti-military equipment and systems that will detect the bombs and defuse them before they even have a chance to land. This is something that was reported by Al Jazeera in the same article. Secondly, the global threat of the world. So this is a two-pronged argument. First, the strength of the United States. So the BBC reports that North Korea is bragging that it has 60 missiles and it can hit everyone in the world. What about the United States? Well, the United States has 10,000 missiles. And not just that, there are several other countries in the world that have nuclear missiles. 7 of them to be precise, including the UK, Pakistan, and Israel. All of these countries are allied with the United States. So there is no chance that North Korea will be able to compete with the sheer force of the US military, or the Pakistani military, or even the Israeli military for that matter. There's no way that their 60 missiles can deal with the sheer force on the other side. But secondly, they have improving South Korean relations. The Economist reports that the upcoming Winter Olympics will be the first time that North Korean and South Korean leaders are communicating in over 2 years. This shows a sign of improvement in North and South relations since the Korean War. And this is something that they would have to compromise on if they were to wage nuclear war on the rest of the world. Finally, why China, their only ally, the last beacon of hope that North Korea has, will not help them in this circumstance. So if we look at it, China is the strongest ally, if not the only one that they have in this region. But there's 2 reasons why they won't help North Korea if they were to declare nuclear war. Firstly, their relations with other countries in the world. So we need to recognize that China has economic and political relations with a lot of the countries that I mentioned, the US, Pakistan, Israel, and all these other countries in the world that exist. Developing countries especially look towards China as a beacon of hope because they're the only alternative to the US and the IMF that has been oppressing these developing countries for so long. So when China supports North Korea in a nuclear war, they lose this image and they lose this ability to claim that they're the only alternative to the US. They show that they're just as bad, if not worse than the US, and this message gets propagated throughout the world and to all of the allies that China has. Secondly, North Korea is the least important of all of China's allies. One of my friends said that in relationships, there are reachers and there are settlers. North Korea is very much so a reacher in this relationship. Even The Economist wrote that China protested the nuclear testing that North Korea conducted. And they said that we do not support in any way any form of nuclear testing or nuclear war that North Korea might wage on the world. So what have I told you in my speech? I've told you three things. Number one, how militarily there is no way for North Korea to be able to compete with the rest of the world. They don't have the weaponry, they don't have the allies, and basically a lot of what they're saying probably isn't even true in the first place. I told you about the global threat that North Korea has to compete with. How not only the US is going to be incredibly difficult for them to defeat, but how other countries in the world, like Pakistan or Israel, or even the nuclear umbrella, like Japan and South Korea, make it incredibly difficult and challenging for North Korea to compete. I told you about the South Korean relations and how that is improving, and how all that progress that has been made will be shattered if they were to wage nuclear war. And finally, how their last hope, China, will never in any instance support them because of how they lose their image as the only alternative to the US for developing countries, and how North Korea is their least important ally, how they don't support anything that they do. Ladies and gentlemen, we may live in unstable times, and we may live in a world which is constantly changing and filled with chaos, but at the very least, the one thing we can count on is that we will not have a threat of nuclear war in the near future. Thank you very much.